The scale that we are going to learn to use in this course is called the pentatonic scale, and this is not just any scale, it's likely to be the most fundamental of scales. And it's called pentatonic, comes from Latin, I think, from penta, which is 5, and it's a 5-note scale. So if we take it, we are going to learn it in A, and the pentatonic scale is said to be a we're going to learn an A minor scale, and an A minor pentatonic scale. The 5 notes will be an A, a C, a D, an E, and a G. So, and just like chords, scales can be played in many different ways, regardless, depending on where on the fretboard you play it. And to learn the scale over the entire fretboard, we use what is called the boxed, the 5 pentatonic boxes. And a box is simply, if you play a given note in the scale you're going to play, the box will be the way you will play it without moving the wrist. So the box are all the notes that you can reach without moving the wrist. That will be the definition of a box. And the reason why they are referred to as boxes is because, as you will see later on, the pentatonic scale, if you can add notes to the pentatonic scale and thereby create new scales. And most of the commonly used scales in at least Western music are derived from the pentatonic scale. So that is why we call it a box. We are gonna put things into it. So we're gonna start learning the first box. And with the pentatonic scale, something that makes them easy to memorize is that all 5 boxes, they only have 2 notes per string. So you will have 1 note that is towards the head, and you will have 1 note that is towards the bridge. So we refer to them as the head note and the bridge note. So in box 1, we are going to start out on the 5th fret of the 6th string, which will be the head note. And then the next note on this string will be the 8th fret. So you get 5, 8. And then you're going to shift string, because otherwise you will need to move your wrist. So, and then it will be 5, 7, 5, 7, 5, 7, 5, 8, 5, 8. So in box 1, the head note is all 5th fret. And the bridge note is 8th fret, 7th, 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 8th, 8th. And so I'm going to play through the scale here. 3, 4. And as you practice this, these fingerings, and we are now exclusively in a technical mode. We haven't started improvising at all yet. And when playing technique, I think you should be picky about things. And an important principle for guitar technique, for linear technique, is that if you can, you should avoid moving the wrist. And so, since you have 4 fingers, if one finger is anchored at a fret, in this case the 5th fret, you should use for the 6th fret the next finger, 7th with the ring, and then the 8th with the pinky. 1 finger per fret, if possible. So if the range of what you're going to play is just 4 frets like this, 3, 4, then you won't have to move your wrist, so you can play it with what I call the correct fingering, which in this case will be index, little finger, pinky, index, ring finger, index, ring, index, ring, index, pinky, index, pinky. So, you're now going to get a workout where you're going to play first upwards like this, and then there's a little pause, and then you're going to play it downwards. Little pause, and then you play upwards, ascending, and then downwards, descending. So, and I think try to use the fingering that I have notated, and also note that this exercise will only come in one speed, because we're not going to start raising speed until we've been through all 5, and we're going to do a workout that will cover all 5, and then that we're going to raise the speed of. So try out practicing it here. And that was box 1, and we are now going to create box 2. And to do this, we take the what I call the as I said, we have each box will have a head note and a bridge note. So what we do, we remove the head note, simply like that. So we get these notes. And as you see, what you will get here is the 8th fret, and then you get the 7th, 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 and then the 8th again. So with this we can draw the conclusion that you won't be closer to the head than the 7th fret. Therefore, the index should be anchored at the 7th fret. So you can use the second finger, the middle finger, on the 8th fret. So then we have the bridge notes. What was the bridge notes in box 1 becomes the head notes of box 2. So what we do to get the bridge words notes in box 2 is we simply move the notes from, we move the head notes from box 1 to the string above, using the string offset principle. We know that if I play this note, the 5th fret on the 5th string, the same pitch will be available 5 frets above on the E string. The note offset between A and E string is 5 frets. So what we'll get is this. So, and then we move on, and then with the string offset we move this note, with a 5-string offset, move it here, and then we move on, and with the offset we get a note there, and then we move there, and then the string offset between string 2 and 3 is not 5 frets, it's 4 frets, so the note we had here will be moved there. So far we got this. So 7, 10, 8, 10, 7, 10, 7, 10, 7, 9. And then we are going to move to the 8th fret of the second string. And here's something, if you're new to this kind of playing, the correct fingering will be to use the middle finger here. So you do this. And then you're going to play the 10th fret, and then you're going to play the 8th again. So that's the correct fingering. This fingering is often, if you haven't done it before, it can be quite awkward, and it feels very much simpler to do like this. Do a wrist motion. Like that. And yes, the pentatonic scale is very, very often played that way, but in this context, I think you should use the opportunity to try to develop the skill of doing this fingering instead. Using the middle finger on the 8th fret instead. Because it's a skill that you are going to need, perhaps not necessarily when you play typical pentatonic music, but as the pentatonic boxes are built into other scales, you will need to be able to do this kind of motion. And this is where you start building that possibility for your hand. So box 2 will be like this. It will be 8th fret, 10th, 7th, 10th, 7th, 10th, 7th, 9th, 8th, 10th, 8th, 10th. And now comes the same kind of workout that you just did in box 1. Good luck. And if we do to box 2 what we previously did to box 1, removing the head note and then moving the notes with string offset to the string above, we get box 3. And I'm just going to show how to play it. In box 3 there is a little challenge, because box 3 will start with the middle finger on the 10th fret of the 6th string. So you get 10 and then you're going to get 12, you get 10 and 12, you get 10 and 12. So that's pretty simple. 12, 12, 10, 12, 10, 12. And then you're going to get 9, 12. But then you are going to go go to the 10th fret, and then the scale proceeds to the 13th fret. So you get the range of box 3 is larger than 4 frets. So we have to find a solution. So theoretically, what you could do, you could play like this, and you can stretch the pinky and go like that. So stretching is one possibility, and moving the wrist is the other possibility. So you simply play 1, 4, 1, 4, and then you go 1, 3. And in my world, you should always prefer moving the wrist from doing a stretch in the hand. There are deviations from it, but as a general rule, I'd say that avoid stretches where you can. So what we're going to do here is we're going to play 9, 12. We then move the wrist, so you get the index to the 10th fret. So it's going to be 10, 13, and then you get 10, 12. So the entire scale sounds and look like this. So now try it out in this workout. Box 3 is, by the way, the only box where you have to do a hand position shift, where you have to move the wrist. So we're going to go on to box 4, and you know the principle. I don't need to go through them again. So box 4, you will anchor the index on the 12th fret, and it's going to be 12th, 15th, 12th, 15th, and then you get 12, 14, 12, 14. So index, pinky, index, ring, index, ring. And then comes the situation we had in box 2 again, where you are going to play, in this case, the 13th fret, and it's going to feel more comfortable to move the index. But do it like this. And then use the ring finger on the 13th fret, pinky on the 15th, and then it's going to be 12, 15. So it is 12, 15, 12, 15, 12, 14, 12, 14, 13, 15, 12, 15. And so, here you go. we are now left with only one box to learn, and that is box 5, of course. So this one will start at the 15th fret of the 6th string, but we have a gap from here to the opposite. So instead of playing this scale here, I'm going to move it down, down to the down 1 octave. So to move something down 1 octave, you can simply subtract 12 frets from where you are on the string. So we are on the 15th fret, and 15th minus 12 will bring you to the 3rd fret, and it's the same note, an octave apart. And this fingering will be starting with the ring finger on the 3rd fret, the middle finger on the 3rd fret, sorry. So it's going to be 3rd, 3, 5, 3, 5, and then you get 2, 5, 2, 5, 3, 5, 3, 5. So what you will find here is that the bridge note in box 5 are all 5th fret, and that's since that is where the box 1 is going to start again. So you get 3, 5, 3, 5, 2, 5, 2, 5, 3, 5, 3, 5. So, and remember to use the correct fingering. We're now going to put all this together to a workout, and what will happen is you're going to start out in box 1, and you're going to play it ascending, a little pause, and then you're going to descend, a little pause, and then you're immediately going to move to box 2, up and down, and box 3, and so on. So there will be a little time to think, but it's a very, very healthy challenge. If you find it impossible, you can go back to the individual videos, but do not leave this step before you can play this workout in at least 70 and then roughly in 80 as well. But by all means, use as much time as you want to. The better they sit, the better it is. So good luck.